to come to you to try to have the need for this variance. This was just a whole bunch of things going on with the unique part of this property. There's the lake, so that cuts off some of it, and there's pipelines on it, you know, 2 crude oil pipelines that cuts the other part off. With a bunch of low ground, there's an old gravel pit in the back. So it ends up that by making this bigger than 2.5 or 2.8, it ends up implicating all of those type of issues. That's how we got here with the subdivision board. The west side of the road has been successfully resolved, and so that's not part of the trust.
Okay. According to what the information I had here, there's 2 sheds you'd be able to keep according to our ordinance.
Right. No, I don't know if it, I think there's
Just one.
just one.
One.
So and that's when I talk about the hierarchy. On the map, so it's got about. Thank you. So when you pull into the driveway, the house is there to the left, it's to the north of the driveway. The shed straight ahead, number 2. That, if that shed stays, that's the most usable shed on the, you know, as far as it's big open, it's a standard pole barn. Pole barn, it's got doors from the south, and it's got doors from, it's on the west side, so when you drive in the west side of the building. But that's not used, and it's not, those doors are not capable of like a garage when you come home to drive into the doors. Number 3 was what built, that's the newest building on the property, number 3. I don't know the exact year, I was in the military. I remember coming back home and the shed was covered. And that's the garage that's been used since the early 80s. Then number 4, that was built prior to that, that's Forest Barn. Number 5 is an old corn crib. Very Lustico built those with Orville Lustico back in the day. There's a similar corn crib to number 5, they're duplicate. And then number 1, that in part is the old goat milking parlor. And then number 1 is just I'm guessing that was built in the 60s. That's an old tin shed, still pretty good. And I think rolling pretty cheap. That's number 1. And so number 3 is the garage. My understanding there was a variance. I'm not speaking to you. I'm not speaking to you. You make all decisions, but in discussions when we were setting up the subdivision, that I think our discussions were that number 3 was home base. I mean, there was good basis for variance on that. I think there's good basis for variance on all of them, but I understand the difference. The number 5 building is east. It's an older building. It's got a relatively good roof on it. My mother put a metal roof on it. And it's got the old corn crib on each side for year corn, and then the middle is parking. With that, so number 3 very much would like to keep that because that is the garage for the house. There isn't a garage.
What's your plans on number 4 then? What are you gonna do, move that then, or that's a whole building?
Well, you say we can't get a variance, it would have to be moved if it can be moved. It's your standard pole barn. It's got a sliding door to the south, and then it's got on both the northeast and the east side, northeast of the east side. It's got, you know, service doors. That's what horses. That everything on that in that area was horse outside horse arena for my sister.
Okay.
And just to be clear, there are no new structures going on lot 1.
What's that?
There's no new structures going into lot 1. Yeah.
And we did, to bring the house into compliance. Did construct a mound system. So there is a mound system, it would be, if you look at number 3, to the west of it is the mound system. Outside of any ordinance issues, there's no practical place to put a building on. And the reason this building site is here on both sides. If you've driven by there, we always call it the sand ridge. There's a very distinct abrupt ridge to the west that kept the wind from blowing, and so that's, back in the day, that's what they call it. The house was not original construction there. It's my understanding somewhere up by Honeywell to the north. It was a house there and it got moved in prior to my parents buying it in the 40s. It's been added on a number of times. Nothing is changed. So no intent to build on the plot. And I understand young people and their desire to build houses. I can see under the current world conditions might be living in this house very long.
Okay, well, thank you, Gary, for the information you gave us.
Sounds good. Any other questions?
Did I ask for if the mailing's been? Okay, did I say? Okay, what about this? When they got down for a variance there?
So the exhibit that you're pointing to is the one that's on the screen right now, and that was the original exhibit that went along with the final plat approval before and was intended to be inserted in the development agreement. So that was the one that was contemplated as potentially might be okay if there was a variance for that one back at that time.
So in other words, we can give a variance for that.
That this was just for historical purposes, that exhibit, in terms of what was discussed back when this final plat came through. But there was no decision made at that time and no variance applied for.
They didn't apply for a variance then.
No, not then.
In other words, they applying now.
They have applied for variances now from total number of accessory structures, total square footage of accessory structures, setbacks to the shared lot line between lot 1 and 2, and setbacks from the center line of 214th to the various structures that would be too close.
Okay. Is there any questions of planning and zoning they have on this?
I have a couple of comments and I
Mr. Burrow.
sympathize with the nostalgic part of keeping the buildings the way they are. I see 1 and, well, 5 mainly as an agricultural use. Typically, it's a corn crib. You typically would use it as such. You wouldn't store stuff in it typically. And then 4 and 1 have been primarily put up as housing for animals. The problem with the keeping of all of these is that 1, obviously it goes over the square footage, but on a 2.8 acre lot, they're not going to be able to have an animal. Like, there's no reason to keep all these buildings because you can't legally keep an animal there. Goats, sheep, chickens, that kind of stuff, you could, but nothing larger than that because of the acreage to that lot. So I'm really struggling to say yes to all these buildings because their main purposes have other reasons than just storage.
But going to putting these 2 lots together.
My understanding is that's probably the worst idea we could do for them. If that's really what it comes down to, and that's what they want to do, the understanding is that they'll have to demolish that house in order to build a new house. That's the only thing they have left if we combine these 2 lots. Am I wrong?
Oh, that's correct, because you
Yeah.
only allow 1 house per lot.
Yeah.
And we've been investing a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. Why would? It seems so silly when they can clearly make some money out of this if they needed to sell it. But the problem is that I don't see some of these sheds as being purposeful for a 2.8 acre lot. Unfortunately, I don't.
When you look at it, whatever acre,
And we have to, because we have to,
but we're farming all of these properties for our neighbors to be able to take with their animals. And to keep it in the city of Nowthen.
and can we move them? I mean, can we move them so they're off the property line, so you still get to keep these buildings? I understand. I've been in your same spot. I truly have.
So we contemplated shed mover for one of them, and he said due to the round post building versus the square post building.
No fun. I know. I hear you. My mom and dad's entire property is round post frame. I understand. I get this. I know the struggle you're working with. But I also look at the 2.8 acre of this home that's lot. The purpose of all these buildings is just not conducive to a 2.8 acre lot. You can't house animals in these, and if you could move them to a different parcel, they would be usable.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
they're being used now for things though, right? Correct. So they are being used.
I didn't mean that they weren't
know,
being
I'm
used.
just-
I'm saying
yeah.
that they are not purposeful for a 2.8 acre lot, once they keep it.
Be able to live there.
Yeah.
Or it's actually more important than if we had animals living there.
We do have.
Right, well, and that's the whole thing, right, is it works as long as you have other property. If you hold that parcel on its own, it doesn't make sense, and it depends what you do with it. If we approve this and you sell it to someone who doesn't have that access. Yeah,
But also, by allowing all these buildings to remain, we're setting a precedence that everybody in the city can come in and build 6 more buildings to their property.
Well, they're
That's not true. It's a variance.
It
for
would be a
everything,
variance, and then how are we gonna deny?
For the same circumstances they're bringing. I guess I would, it all depends on the circumstances. That's why they're asking for a variance.
I understand. I'm having a very hard time with all of the buildings, because they knew when they did this plat that there were gonna be buildings that had to come down because of the property lines. They knew that. It wasn't a mystery.
Well, them specifically, they probably, it didn't matter to them at that probably.
Speak up.
Sorry, I was sorry, but it didn't, they probably didn't have a say in it when it was done, right?
If we weren't originally. Going to be purchased.
So that's why they're asking for the variance now.
We could afford to go out. And then we could trade on along and out. We're happy to pick up. We're excited to be able to grateful and 100. So that's a different thing.
I don't know if you'll see things going down, so it's gonna just get tougher. I hate that word. I hate it.
Do we have any more questions here in the planning and zoning? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Did we ask for comments from the public?
I think, is there anybody in the public that has any comments? Yes,
I'll say,
come up, give your name and your address, please.
As you know, I live in Elk River, but I just bought the lot right across the road from them. So, and I mean, when we were looking at stuff, kind of going back to that historical nature, Gary was saying, I mean, that was what we fell in love with, was the charm of all these buildings. So just that it would be a shame to see them come down. And where it is something that they're using, you know, for their livelihood and out of necessity, it would be, yeah, disappointing to see them have to come down when, you know, talking and speaking with the Lesticos and knowing that, you know, they're using them and they're just, you know, they've been in this community for decades, their families have been. So it's not like they're trying to do anything to get ahead or anything sneaky to build more sheds or have anything more on their land. It's just, them trying to continue doing what they've been doing. So.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Gene Lestico. I live at 21355 Nowthen Boulevard. So I live to the east. The map's doesn't go far enough, but I use that new gravel driveway there.
Oh.
And so one win for the city is getting rid of my flag lot, because currently my lot is a flag lot, and that will be done once this plat is recorded. I'll own the acres to the south of that new gravel road. And I'll just speak in favor of the variance. With respect, I would disagree that this is setting a precedent that every person that wants to build sheds would have the same right to. These are pre-existing sheds. And so I guess there could be some precedent setting for other people that have pre-existing historical buildings. But I don't think that would be precedent setting for people who wanted to construct new sheds in excess of those limits. Nowthen is a agricultural city, as my brother Gary pointed out. You'll see in very developed areas, including Elk River, where historical homesteads, farmsteads were left in place that are completely different than the surrounding residential neighborhoods. So I don't think anybody would notice that these sheds are left. They would certainly notice if they were torn down, because they are part of Nowthen. They've been there for some of them approaching 100 years. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any crowd here like me? You know, I asked the planning and zoning, they got any more questions or to cover here?
What's the status of lot 2 right now?
It's part of the the trust property on the east side, but there's a new road that goes in, we call it the gravel pit road. And the property north of that will go to Dennis upon finalization of the subdivision, and like Gene said, the property south of that. So that lot is set up in the subdivision as a separate lot, and then north of the new road, there's an outlot, which is essentially gravel pit. Dennis wanted that because that's the best deer stand on the place.
Again, I'm gonna ask if there's the crowd has anything that they'd like to present this time. If not, the planning and zoning, do you have anything else? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Now we'll act upon it.
And again, I have no findings of fact in your packet for this one, so I would ask you to provide direction to me on what you would like me to bring back next month for findings of fact.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Mr. Hippo. Thanks.
Yeah, so I think there would be only precedent set for historic buildings like Gary mentioned. So I think there may be room for allowing the buildings to be kept there. And seeing that they're using agricultural. We got even if you can't fit more animals, they don't need, they're putting hay in there, so. That's an agriculture use, and I think with modern farming, a lot of families have trouble with they're passing on their estates with the high cost of land now. That it might be common for people to rent land when they're starting off farming. They still need a bunch of buildings on their own property to do all their storage. So there could be precedent for keeping this.
Anybody else have anything to say here? I understand where the lexical's coming from. I've been around here good many years, been able to go by the place, and I enjoy watching these older buildings and stuff, and what they have there, and I knew their mother and father real well, and the only problem I have, we have an ordinance, and with our ordinance, it stipulates what the size of buildings can be on these lots, and we have to be very careful if we allow a variance that doesn't meet our ordinance. We could be in a lot of trouble, because down the road, somebody else say, well, the Lexical's got it, why can't we? And at that point, we can't do anything about it. So I think we have to be very careful in what we allow because of this. I know what they're after. I know they farm it. I know Dennis is farming the land there along with Corey there, and I realize where they're coming from, but again, I don't know what to recommend here. This is all, we'll close the public hearing, we'll go on to discussion.
You already closed it.
But she wants some information, I don't know what we can give her.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I guess I would be interested in if we could ask the city attorney what precedent we would be setting. I think it's easy to say that, you know, if someone was on a 2.5 acre lot and they wanted to build 3 large buildings, we could easily say no. But if there's an existing property and they want to subdivide and create this again, would we be able to deny that? Or are we opening ourselves up for someone being able to, you know, do a 2.5 acre lot that's all buildings? You know, is this setting that precedent?
Mr. Chair,
yes, Commissioner
how
Carlson.
often do you think that would happen?
I don't think it's often. You know, I don't, but.
And I just like that, I mean, it is a variance for a reason, right? They're not meeting the ordinances, so they're asking for an exception. And I think that, you know,
Yeah,
you're right, we need to look at it carefully, but I think we also can recommend. I don't know, I think that in this particular case, I think it's worth it. That shed 5 on that boundary line, that boundary line might, I don't know how we handle something like that with it being divided in half. Although to their point, they're gonna own both parcels. So I don't know what kind of agreement you go with, you know, agreeing to do that, but
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I would suggest that if you are inclined to direct me to prepare findings of fact for approval of these, that you do address shed number 5, that it either needs to be removed or the lot line needs to be moved.
okay.
Because it's, even if their intent is to ultimately own both of these, they're 2 separate parcels that can be sold separately.
Yeah.
And that's the main issue.
From the trustee, I think that's reasonable. I think we can do.
any more?
Well, ultimately, I would be looking for some sort of direction from the planning commission so that I can bring you back and have some. Not looking for a decision tonight, but more of an inkling of kind of collectively what you're thinking, so I can appropriately draft that.
Ideally, if we could get close to all setbacks, why would there be an issue with all the buildings staying? So there's an issue with number 4 being, is it on the setback or is it too close to the center line of the road? Which is it?
4, 5 and 3 are too close to the center line of the road.
3 is too.
3?
Yeah, to be 120 feet off.
Oh, for goodness sakes, there's not enough room on the property. Okay, so obviously 5 is an issue. You cannot have a building on 2 parcels. It just doesn't work. Trust me, it's not a good idea. So either the lot line has to be moved or the building has to be removed.
So 4 and 5 were dealt with and a variance for 3.
And I'm fine with 1, 2, and 3. They are all in a spot that seems to be useful. They seem to be, mature trees are around them. They are there. It's 4 and 5 that are major questions because they're closest to what is gonna become easements, property movements. So a property line is a huge problem. You can't have a building on a property line. So it has to be on one or the other. It just has to. And 4, it's so close that it's just. I don't even know what to do about 4. I really don't.
Is 4 the white barn with the gambrel roof?
No, I think that's,
Oh, that's 5.
that's 5.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's the one that we were.
Number
Okay,
4?
That's the red and white building.
Yeah, the red and white building. The newest looking building.
Right,
This one. So this is 4, and this is 5, and then this is 1.
I think it's number 4 is about 25 feet
25 feet from the.
edge of
Yeah.
the gravel. It is the right of way itself is, of course, it's closer to the right of way itself, so if the road ever needed to be improved, construction equipment could be right in there. And it's in the drainage and utility easement as well. And a lot of times we would use that for drainage and utilities as well as construction with roads, so. If the planning commission and council were inclined to approve a variance for that, we would be likely recommending an encroachment agreement associated with that.
Is there a drainage and utility easement on both sides of this road?
Yes. There always is.
Yeah, I'm just. Not always do you use them.
to be clear, we're talking about Nowthen Boulevard, not the future road, right?
No, we're talking the
The future road.
Future road.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so could that be,
Tiny road.
It can't be moved.
it can't be moved? Okay.
No, they've already installed the road
Right.
and that would again affect all of their estate agreements. So
Okay,
That's why 6 is gone, because the
Right.
road is literally right there.
right,
And the drainage goes to the south. Doesn't, it's impossible.
It's quite level.
So it doesn't implicate 4.
So could the variance be contingent upon if the road is built, that it would be, the building would be removed,
The road is built.
or if it's paved to city standards?
yes, you could put whatever conditions you would want. Variance.
Yeah.
At some point in the future, the road will
This is
become
one
a,
other house.
right.
or it's slated to become a city road if more development happens.
So currently, there's only one house on you call it the sand road or the dirt road? Gravel pit road. There's only one house being accessed currently on that, right? Because as soon as they built another one, that would trigger the pavement.
Right,
It's 2, isn't it?
I think it's 3.
Total of
Oh,
3.
Total of 3.
So they have to build 2 more. Or they could build 2 more.
I live on a dirt road.
Yeah, the current one isn't.
The current one is never gonna be on that road, right? Forget.
Yeah, so
Well, but
there's 2 other
Two.
lots.
lot
There's
1,
two
block
lots.
2, and lot 2, block 1.
So
The lot 1 is the driveway's coming off to Nowthen Boulevard,
Right.
not onto the dirt road.
so if all lot A and all lot B are developed, the road has to be paved.
They can't be, they're outlets.
But if they come back for
Yes,
a future,
if they can, yeah. They can prove that they can build there, yeah.
yeah,
Good
They-
luck.
if they do that, the road would be paved. At that point, we could have them remove the building condition.
If the road has to be
Yeah.
constructed to
Yeah.
city standards, then the building has to be moved or demolition.
Yeah,
That would be
We still have to see,
pleasant.
talk to the lawyer and see if that's
Yeah, if it's
can be
encroaching
done.
in the.
otherwise, yeah,
Yeah.
the road would be really close to the building otherwise. City standard.
Problem is number 5. I know it's not, it's a corn crib. I know how they're built. Moving it is not an awesome idea.
The lot line part needs to move for that.
That's where you would want to move the lot line. It's, I know it's a big ask, but you want to take down the building because it's probably not going to move very easy because they're built so different than our current standards.
Is there any way to say it? Those 2 lots here won't ever let mine ownership, then the building would have to be removed.
Not really, because variances will run with the land.
Yeah. And the building itself is on the property line, so there is no way to say who owns the building once it's on a property line. You have to, it has to be within the means of the property. That's the biggest tricky part. And you don't want to be in that battle. Trust me.
You have enough to work with her.
I think so, so, unless I hear otherwise from the commission right now, I will draft findings related to, a recommendation of approval of all of the variances, on sort of the basis that these are historical buildings to Nowthen. An important part of the fabric of the agricultural character of the community, to try to draw out a, difference between this and other requests. I do think you'll have one coming in pretty soon. And then include some conditions of approval in there related to the lot line needing to be moved so that, or number 5 being moved, one of the 2, to address that, issue with that building crossing over the lot lines. A condition related to encroachment agreements for building 4 and maybe building 5. I need to try to have, it seems to be right on the easement line, so I'm not sure if it's crossing over or not at this point. And then, a condition related to if the road is constructed to a city standard, that the city would be accepting that, building 4 would have to be removed. Yeah.
Does this have to be in a form of motion?
No, it doesn't have to be. I'm just looking kind of around the room, and that's what I will draft and bring to you next month, and then you can look at it and tweak the conditions or the findings.
Just gotta look for the right numbers and stuff for us.
Yeah.
Are you all okay with that then? She brings it to the next meeting and,
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
Hopefully that covers it.
When is the next meeting?
it'd be the 4th Tuesday of
March.
March.
Among the day?
25th of March.
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
That takes care of that public hearing, then we'll do the next one.
We can close the public hearing, but we're going to.
Nope. It's done.
Yeah, we can,
We can move to the next one.
we were just acting on it now.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's, takes care of that then. Thank you. That's the close.
Thank you.
The next thing, we're gonna open the next public hearing is for interim use permit for Tony Howard. And then we'll ask our planner here to present what she has.
Thank you. The Howard family has applied for an interim use permit for a home occupation for Original Happy Mom Brownies. A copy of their site plan survey is in your packet. There currently is not a house on the site. They're proposing to build a home as well as a large building for their commercial bakery on this property. They would share the same driveway going up to the road. They've identified a couple of septic sites for this property. The difficult part of this application is that while if everything was constructed, it appears that it would likely meet ordinance requirements or could. At this point, there isn't a house there. So it's challenging when there isn't a house because One, your ordinances would require that you can't build an accessory structure until you have a principal structure. But then even if you think through the home occupation conditions, they all tie back to there being a home there. So, well, a lot of them do, you know, items such as that. Home occupation needs to be carried on by one or more members of the owner's family who shall reside in the dwelling unit, for example. So there's conditions like that that because it's a home occupation, if there isn't a home, the conditions start to not make a lot of sense. So, I drafted the findings as a recommendation of denial because there isn't a home. An alternative that I contemplated was that it could have been drafted as approval with the condition that the home be built first. I didn't choose to do that because, and I'm sure Mr. Howard will like to talk to you guys, but, they're desiring to pull the building permits for both of them, but then focus on the accessory building. And what would be very challenging for us is in talking with the building official, if both permits are pulled at the same time even, once the accessory structure is done, he won't have a reason to not issue a certificate of occupancy. And then you're relying upon belief that the home will end up being constructed in a reasonable time frame. So, and it is, I'm not saying that they would do this, but it is possible that that home would not be constructed or not in a very timely manner. So with that, I'll
Okay,
happy to answer any questions and
okay, at this time, I'll ask the applicant if they have anything to add to this.
Sure.
I know you're unhappy.
I'm all good. You know, my name's Tony Howard. We live currently at 1944, 134th Lane in Andover. Sorry. I shouldn't be nervous. I used to be on the Andover City Council. So, so this all came about when we bought the property, and we've been looking for something that we can build for a family business. Original Hockey Mom Brownies literally started as a family business from nothing 10 years ago. And currently it's my son and my wife's business. And we're looking to find a home, not just for 1 or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. This is really, we're building a legacy for our kids. Okay, the long-term vision for us. And that's what we want to do, right? My wife and I. So we chose Nowthen. We searched for a piece of property, and this is, I don't know if you know anything about it. It's 31 acres. It used to be a borrow pit. So is there a lot of challenges? You bet. I used to be in construction for many years, so I know those challenges. And I used to be on the Andover City Council, so I know the challenges of trying to get it approved through the Nowthen City Council. And I guess thank you for letting me speak tonight. I know it's not easy, and I know I totally understand what Cindy's coming from. Is the house going to be built? We as a family have to spend a pretty substantial amount of money just to get that piece of the dirt squared away for both of those properties. Okay, so there is an investment there to know that that house is going to be built. For me, I'm doing this for my wife because she's always endorsed my businesses. I've been in business since I was 22. So she's always been part of my group, part of my, somebody that really endorsed what I'm doing. Well, we're not spring chickens now, right? And this is her heart. She loves this business, and my son, we love it with a passion. So it was, this way she can continue to feed her passion by just being able to walk down to her business and cook brownies. It's crazy. I mean, I called it a silly, I said more than that, a silly little bit of brownie business. We started with a food truck. 10 years later, we have 3 booths at US Bank Stadium, Huntingfield, Mariucci, and do a ton of corporate stuff. So is the passion there? You bet. And we're building this legacy for our son and our daughter so they can continue what they love to do. Now, do we, that's a box elder bugs in here. Do we, do we meet every T and cross every I, or whatever, right? Dot every I and cross every T. No, we don't meet it because the house isn't built. I mean, I sent you kind of an outline of what I thought the timetable was to move it forward. And so you kind of feel comfortable with what I'm proposing. You know, it's, is it going to be a challenge? Yes. Part of the reason we need the bakery is the business where we're at now, that we're subcontracting a lease from, is they're probably going to be sold. So now we don't have a bakery. So that's our challenge. Now, long-term thinking, do we want to go out and lease a space for 3 to 5 years? Or do we want to try to build something now for the future? Because to be really honest, if we have to go out and lease something for 3 to 5 years, this is out of my wife's and our plan. I think it takes, I really think this takes it out of the picture for us. So the only thing we don't meet is that we don't have a house. But my intent on that timeline I gave you is to, our timeline is like mid-August, right? We're gonna have the bakery done, but we're gonna have the driveways in, we're gonna have both, we're gonna have the house foundation done. So when I physically have the time to do the house, then I would attack it. And these are not tiny houses, tiny things to do. Takes time to build quality, and that's what I'm looking to do, is build something quality in your city. Don't want to shortchange it. Totally not, because like I said, this is something I'm looking towards the future for long term. Eventually, guess what? My son and his future wife will be moving into that house and we'll be in retirement age. So it's something that our family will be on this property for a long time. Really,
thank you. We just can't keep going on.
I know, I'm sorry. That's me.
Things
I'm trying to plead my case.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Howard.
Yeah.
One quick question, looking at the time frame that you handed out tonight. I'm assuming green is progress on the bakery
I would look at it.
and.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the green is the bakery, the red is the house,
Okay,
and the blue is kind of like the bullet timeline.
the one I'm not clear on then
Yep.
is under this timeline, you have the house move-in ready July 1st, 2026. But when would the bakery be? Ready.
It's
Is that the July 10th to August 10th of this year?
the bakery
Yeah,
would be the August 10th would be the finish of the bakery.
okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, as the clerk mailed all the mailings out and the advertisement about this.
Yes.
Okay, that's been taken care of. Okay, does the PZ have any questions they'd like to ask the applicant here? Yes, go ahead.
I got a question for the planner. Does this require IUP?
Yes, it does for home occupation.
Could the IUP be delayed till the house is complete?
Any other questions does planning and zoning have?
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner.
my question is gonna be directed directly at the applicants. Why didn't you want to seek out separate property for the commercial business for your own purchase?
Because I want to be able to walk to 65 years old. I just want to be.
I'm only concerned,
To my business.
yeah, my only concern,
And to be honest, Nowthen was the only city that would allow for us to put a building in that would be on 31 acres and 2 bids. But even at that, it still splits so that large enough to need to take broad and to get any type of one that we want. That's what my son and my husband, because specifically in the time, because he plans to have the business for a number of years to come and to expand. Not on that piece of property that expand within the area. So that's why we want to rental for a beautiful baby extremely expensive.
Already about $500,000 into 2 different locations up there. You know, instead of give that out to somebody else or rather build something. Now my parents have already turning all the time.
The other thing is we were looking for a community that we could become a part of and grow in. And we've been in there over years. My husband was different high school bill, community center bill, and served on the city council. We've been active in our community, and we would still continue to want to do that. You know, we really feel like we're permanent.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions that the planning and zoning has to ask applicant here? Seeing none?
Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
is it possible to have like a small apartment in the whole building while you're building?
We attempted to do, farm dominion, but because of the 3 uses,
Okay,
that it was, fire code wise, it was impossible. That's kind of like the first thing we were gonna do. So, and through the process.
That's it. If I may interject, we've been working on this for months. And talking with the building official as well, trying to sort through what some of those options might look like. And I think,
Sorry, I think I met with the building official like almost a year.
by the way, I love your brownies. We used to find your truck all the time when it first came up. All my kids played hockey, so.
and I think, Commissioner Hupelo started to ask me a question about whether there was a way to have the interim use permit maybe wait or something until it was constructed. But there wasn't really a way to do that because their whole purpose was they need to find that space to move into. And so that's why they were trying to do that in the front end, so.
Is it possible to pull it if the house isn't occupied within a certain time frame?
But like a time frame
I will tell you that
expires at. this.
theoretically, we could add that as a condition. The practical reality of it is that it is at that point, if the house wasn't built, it would be a huge code enforcement nightmare, and it would be in terms of if the city wanted to enforce that.
Right.
And so it would be expensive to,
financial undertaking
Yeah.
for the city.
yes.
Okay, is there anything else from the planning and zoning? If not, we'll open up the public. Anybody in the public want to address it? Go ahead, give your name and address.
My name is Skip Parnell. We live at 7263, 181st Avenue. So we're kind of just east of Tony, over the hill. And I feel I owe Tony something. We did a really stupid thing on his lot. We took motorcycles, my son-in-laws, and drove around. He probably should have shot us just for that. So that alone, I feel I owe Tony. But I just had a couple of questions, and And one of them was, I was curious why this wasn't looked into before the lot was bought. I mean, this is a pretty big deal, dropping a manufacturing house on a lot. I wonder why it wasn't looked into first, but that's not important. Just something I was curious about. That we're already past that. Yeah, yeah.
We were looking through the barn dominium first, right? And that would have made it okay, but then it got cost prohibitive.
Got it.
To try to get a 2-hour fire rating between all 3 uses.
Got it.
So then we had to kind of switch things, and now the police part is coming up.
Is that like an ADU? Is that the other term they use or something? No? Different.
So that's kind of where it kind of just comes all together.
Yeah.
See, that was one thing.
Yeah.
If we would have took the direction and just did the house and did this, yes, that would have been no problem, but then this happened.
Yeah. Wow, that's okay, that's past, but just some couple things here that nothing big, but so my concern is that we live just over the hill, and being in refrigeration, I worked on a lot of bakeries, everything in them, exhaust, makeup air, and of course, one thing comes to mind. I don't know what your hours are going to be, but most bakeries are out at 2 a.m. starting baking. You're not like that. Okay, so that's not an issue. Okay. And okay, you're not like a regular baker then.
I stay up.
Okay.
Relax.
All right, you're late. And the other thing is, I was wondering, in 5 years, it doesn't sound like they're gonna change, but being we're just over the hill, we want to protect our lot, and then because it's a commercial rating, I have no idea how it affects our value. It's commercial rated, right? That's what it'll be, some kind of commercial rating, and that because it's a business running there, or no? How does that work?
Actually, that's not a commercial area. We'd have to change our zoning to make it commercial.
Got it, okay. So if there is something like that going on, and 5 years down the road, they change their mind, now we want to make Chinese, food with curry powder or something, is the manufacturing, do they have to check with you before they change their whole manufacturing for odors and everything? Or, and again, I'm just trying to think about our lot, and if something really weird happens, what'll happen to the value of our house, I don't know.
Mr. Chair, may I answer?
Yes.
So interim use permits for home occupations, and they don't run with the land, so somebody else wouldn't be able to buy it and keep using it necessarily.
Oh,
But they do have termination clauses that are built into IUPs. Those termination clauses are whatever the city would put in the IUP. So it could be that, a lot of times we'll put a term, I'm not saying what we would do here, but as an example, a lot of times we'll put a termination clause of when the property sells, the IUP goes away. Or, a lot of them, we will give the IUP for a certain amount of time. And then once that time frame is coming up, they could still apply to amend it and extend that time frame. But that gives the city a chance to look at those conditions and see, are those conditions mitigating for any impacts? Do we need to adjust those conditions? So that's how that works.
Yeah.
But yes, once you construct a fairly large building there, that will have value to it, and I would anticipate that people would be interested in trying to maintain some commercial use of that.
So one of the thought process about putting the house in the barn the way it is the look. I wanted to keep the rural feel. So I have a big concern of mine, for sure.
oh, it's not a full building, it's a,
No.
oh,
And it's a different building, but it's still look like the rural feel, right? And on the side of the garage. with having, whole building is that. I literally grew out and had the engineer job farm that was created, and that what you're looking for.
yeah,
Because I'm obvious we're gonna be good neighbors, right?
yeah. I won't ride my motorcycle again.
So that was my whole big deal, right?
Yeah.
This long term investment for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, go ahead. Oh, okay. Well, the other thing I was just gonna, and I don't think this is a problem, but
I have pulled the plans up of what the building's supposed to look like.
Not that whole.
Mhm.
That was our.
So it doesn't sound like it'll really devalue our house that you got a commercial rating. I know nothing about that, but that should be okay. Okay. The other thing is, I don't know if they have Utilisat fans or if that's a noisy fan or if they've got an up blast. How much CFM are you pulling out of this place? Do you know how
There's no, they're all,
big fans?
out of-
Oh, so there's no CFM hardly. Okay. All right. And then there won't be a lot of trucks. It's not like a big industry.
No.
Okay. That's all I got.
Yeah, cause I had to physically go to the zip code of the delivery. Physically
Go there.
go there,
Yeah.
grab stuff, come back.
Yeah.
That was another concern at our current property. Like you went, if you were at Dave's Sport Shop, you have no idea. That, hey, you're making grounds.
Oh, really?
It's really, yes.
Low key. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's not pluming up like.
No.
No,
Like a Chinese restaurant. Yeah.
like you, some quiet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all I got.
Is there anybody else in the audience that like the address of?
I've got one more question for the applicant. You talk about three uses, obviously the bakery, the residential house. What was the third thing?
It was the garage, it was just.
Oh,
it had
okay,
in the house over the garage. That fire rating that went from that garage to.
gotcha, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
We have any more questions?
I noticed you had a spot in there where you had two driveways in there. Nowthen County is not very open to the driveways on.
Good comment. Early on in the process, I talked to Nowthen County, and they said if I shut the one off, I could put the one where I'm at. The reason I wanted to move that is for public safety. Besides the safety of people coming out of our property. Because now it's not a blind spot for us as we come out with our cars and such. And people can see that. Before, once there's a little rise on Nowthen Boulevard, if you're familiar with the property, that red barn had a driveway there. Red and white barn, and it got to be kind of a traffic hazard, believe it or not. If we would have left that driveway there, so I thought the county, they're all good with moving it there. They actually, I actually taken out positions with them, had some of the auditor in last year to look at that, so we're good.
You're gonna end up with just one driveway then?
There'll be one driveway that has a fence on the way to the north. As far as our physical, for a house and a bakery will be the one to the south.
So you have two driveways.
Right? And they're okay. Yes,
Okay, well,
I ran through it, man.
we've just had a few discussions with them on other ones and, there's seems to be a big variation on who you talk to and what's going on down there.
That was the early on discussion. Before I even did any of the engineering.
Clarify for us, you have a. There's only one driveway shown to the both building, to the both,
There's one, this isn't the whole parcel, there's another 12 acres to the north
yeah.
that has another driveway.
Oh, so, but that's not gonna access a home.
No,
Okay, so the only driveway that's coming in that's being used
Yeah.
for the home and the construction, the building is here.
exactly.
Okay, yeah, I know there's multiple entrances along the road there for whatever reason. Okay,
Okay. We're having more discussions here in the planning zone.
Yeah, I guess, Mr. Chair, any way to do an escrow or something like that, that would basically guarantee residents within a certain period of time?
so I have a small, on this one. When we constructed our our residents, we wanted to simultaneously build our pole barn at the same time, and the city would not allow us. So we had to apply for our house, and then after our house was under construction, then we could apply for our building. We couldn't do it simultaneously, they wouldn't let us. That was 9 years ago.
Did they require you to be a certain completion done with your home?
You're really asking that question right now.
Yeah.
I've been sitting here,
You brought it up.
I've been sitting here stirring my brain trying to figure out if there was a requirement on completion, but we did the same thing. We didn't have a home, we needed an accessory building. And we couldn't do an accessory building at the same time as a home permit because we didn't have a home. We had to have the home under construction before we could apply for the accessory building. That's how they ran it with us.
You could probably
9
look
years.
it up, right?
Pardon me.
You could probably look it up when you applied for both permits.
I know, I probably could look it up. That's a
Or
big box.
City?
Big
Does
box.
this thing have a record of it or?
Oh, 9 years ago?
I don't know, they might not be.
How organized are you?
Oh.
Super. Mine's about a 2x2x2 box. Want to go through some papers?
Is there any more questions? If there's no more questions, we'll end the public hearing. So as far as the public hearing goes, now we'll have what we're gonna do. I think we got recommendation from our planner here. That we deny this time because of not even having a home built. So if somebody wants to be brave, they can make a motion.
Another option is that I thought about doing was a recommendation for approval with the condition that the home be built first. That was another way of kind of potentially tackling that topic. Regardless, that didn't meet their goals, so.
It didn't meet ours either. We were working with a time restraint as well, but that's what had to happen.
Mr. Chair, and obviously they're building both at the same time. They're just gonna finish one. I mean, they are technically starting a home, right? I mean, they're digging a foundation, they're getting all that done. There's nothing, I mean, like you were saying, you had to start both.
No, I had to.
You had to be in
completely-
progress one, right?
Yeah,
Before you could start the other one.
we applied for the home and all of that went with that. And it had to be under construction before we could apply for.
I would think,
accessory building.
I would think they had to have a percentage
I have to go
done.
back and look.
I was on the planning zone at the time, but I don't recall there were so many things going on since then.
No, you were on it then.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Sounds
Right.
like there was a precedent set though.
mhm. There was something.
So.
But
might
to
have
me,
Do it again.
I'm gonna be brave, I'm gonna make a motion, we deny it. For the simple reasons that they don't have a house that they're living in there. Somebody,
Basically what they're asking for is, hey, can we build a commercial building without a house?
That's right.
That needs to be on a
That's-
commercial lot. I have to agree.
that's right. Do we have a second to that motion?
I second that motion.
Okay, do we have any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Was there all ayes?
no,
Everybody-
no, say all nays.
They were, okay, we'll call for the vote. Harold Jorgensen, or Commissioner Jorgensen, how's your vote?
I don't know. I think we're gonna have to. Somebody's gonna have to come forward here and be a little bit more specific. Because our ordinance specifically say, read that. What it says. You have to have a CUP or an IUP without. I have built several houses in now. I'm not a carpenter or whatever. But the last house I built, I got for a loose doorknob. That's the only thing that I had problems with. I thought that was pretty good. The guy to build a house, not be being a carpenter to build one.
Okay, Commissioner Jorgen, what's your vote, yes or no?
I think we better gotta vote no till we resolve
Okay,
it.
okay, Commissioner Lewis, what's your vote?
Yes.
Yes, what's your, Commissioner, hey, Philip, what's your,
No.
no? Who knows, my vote is yes. Not to have, or rather, no, not to have it. Commissioner B?
We're switching our votes around.
Yeah.
You voted aye. Yeah.
So the motion.
Okay, okay, deny then, okay, deny.
Go. Deny or approve? Deny the approval?
Yeah, I said, we're gonna deny it till we resolve that issue. That's plain enough.
And she voted
Keep
yes,
your ears on.
he voted no, and I voted yes. And Commissioner B,
Deny.
And I will deny.
okay, so we,
And I would vote to not deny,
yeah,
to approve the CUP or IUP.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And I think we need some more discussion, because I mean, for instance, I feel like they're applying for a building permit. That building permit indicates a home and this other structure. There's plans to get everything done. We're just essentially not believing them that they're gonna actually do those things. So they're
No,
applying for a
I-
permit to, right? I'm assuming that's how that works. The building permit is for a home and another structure.
Oh, there would be two separate
There'd
building
be
permits,
two separate.
but,
okay.
I
Okay.
mean, that part's a technicality. But the ordinance says you can't have a accessory without.
Okay, what was the total vote? Did you get that? Was
But
it
it's like a chicken.
4 to
and egg.
3 there? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 and 3 against.
Who was the third yes?
Yeah, there's just two.
There's only two yeses.
Carol?
Or how about deny or approve?
Yes.
But I think it was 5-2.
5, 2, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's denied,
Well, it's recommended to the council.
yeah, to the denied, and the city council will make the final decision on it. Okay, the next thing is, on the agenda is the ordinance amendment, home occupation. The planner, what she has. Yes,
Do they come to the city council, the next city council meeting?
yeah, they come to the next city
Or
council.
will be on the
Sec-
for March 11th, right?
Second Tuesday. Okay, we open the public hearing. And we'll-
Yep, so we obviously talked about this home occupation ordinance last month, so coming back to tonight with,
This was a continuance from last
Yes,
month.
it is.
Okay, just clarifying.
continuance,
Sorry.
and so this is adding back in language that you talked about last month. And I'm happy to go through in whatever detail that you would like, or if you would like to just pick which parts you'd like to talk about that might streamline it.
We got towards the end there, didn't we?
Wait, there was a couple of things that we've had to go back on. One we skipped over, help me. The attached garage or something, or the acreage or size, where are we at? One of them was something. Oh, that, yes, it was the 25% of the area of the residence.
Right.
And then the acreage or something to the residents, because that's just kind of.
I think we took the acreage out.
Well, it says 5 now, and number 3 under C.
What page are you on?
Yeah, maybe page 3,
I don't know. Let's say on the top, like page 91 or.
99. That one.
It says
Well,
3 on
there's
the bottom.
also 3 at the bottom, there's all these numbers, yeah, they don't, yeah, you. All right, fine. I thought we were fine with so if you go on page 97, I remember that we were fine with, the use of the dwelling being the residential use, that kind of information, but it was the percentage we were trying to figure out. And then if to include or not to include the attached garage.
So, yeah, so my notes were that you ended up being, fine with including the percentage
out, but you'll see. And what they did was, now then. Come by, and if you had your road fixed or whatever, and your place or your parcel was plotted. They wanted you to sign off on it. And. When they fixed our road, I told them, I'm not signing off on it, because I don't have a small parcel. And I was right. Don't have to sign off on it, as long as you had more than the requirement. So, and then another thing is, and a lot of our parcels in Nowthen are not full 40s. Our section lines are off all the way from the river in Anoka up this way. Some of them are off as much as 8 to 10 feet. Okay, wherever that road is, that's where you're gonna end up with. So you don't have what you call a true 40. Our county father said, we're gonna change this, we're gonna make it right. And you went out and decided to measure up where it was. Whoops, we gotta move all of our roads over. So you know what happened to that theory? That went out the window years ago. But that's the truth. You'll look at a lot of them. I think I've got 140 that's 7 feet longer on one end than the other end. And they're supposed to be even 40s, you know. But when they measured them, they didn't do a good job. So you'll right when 181st, that line is even off between Ramsey and Nowthen. So you get right down to the thing, it's kind of an interesting deal, and then we come up with it. This guy's gotta have 5 acres to do this, but really, we're kind of at the mercy of what some of our forefathers did to us with our lot lines, you know, as far as section lines and stuff like that, they're off quite a bit. So it makes a difference, because I go through the map every now and then looking at it, and see who's got what, and you'll notice that some people told you they had maybe 50 acres or 60 acres. Why did they come up with such odd things? And that's why it is. So, but they'll try to steal what they can, especially now. Then real good at that. Try to steal as much land as you could without ever paying for it. When the county comes through, you got your road fixed. They paid for all those. But if it's a city road, you had to pay for the road on top of the fact you stole your land. So that's the way it works. So a lot of interesting things there that have bearing on what we're trying to do here right now. So because if you've got 4.9 acres, that's as good with 5 acres as possible. But is it to the center of the road or isn't it? You know. But the measure is from the center of the road. So.
There's actually nothing we can do about that.
So there's nothing we can do about what Mr. Jorgensen's talking about, but going back to the question of that number 3 on the top of page 99, we can delete that from here. Until and unless you change the ordinance in that other location that's kind of governing who can apply for a CUP.
Section 11-10-1.
Yep,
Yeah.
then they still would need 5 acres.
And we can tackle that after we're done here.
So if you'd like, we can delete that one.
Let's remove that one
Yeah.
for now. I like what number 6 says. No longer are we, saying there's a limited number, but we can specify a number based on each business, basically. And then removing of 12, that's fine. Or changing number 12. Okay. Everything I'm fine with, all the way to page 101, if we want to move on to there.
anyone else have anything else that they'd like to talk about?
And then on page 101, letter A, I think we nailed that. We definitely moved and changed a lot of things around. I think that's exactly what we wanted to say.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I was okay with that. And the two.
Yeah, that one's good.
Yep.
Yep. And then page 102, the last revision or last revision on that page. Perfect. Nailed it. Why not?
Right. Yeah.
I have no arguments. Everything looks good.
So if no one has any comments, I guess I would be looking for a motion to recommend approval to the city council with the removal of item number 3 under the extended home occupations.
I will make a motion to
Second.
approve all home occupations with the removal that we spoke of on number 3 and keeping everything that has been outlined in the section.
Commissioner Farrell made a motion and
I'll
Commissioner
second.
B seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Everybody agreed? Okay, that takes care of that.
Mr. Chair. I just want to ask one question, finance man. If we don't have a time frame, just the sale of the property, how do we do the inspections?
You can still add other conditions, so it's a interim use permit, so likely you would also still have a condition that said, a certain number of years that would be good for. So if somebody were to keep operating a business for 50 years, there'd be some periodic time frame where you might just, yeah. And you can still do inspections as well along the way.
Okay, and then it's just a matter of being able to enforce them, right? Which is where we usually have the trouble.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, that takes care of that.
We need to close that public hearing. Probably should close that one.
No, I don't think we did.
No, we didn't.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and any further discussion, or this should take care of it then. Got lost. Now we'll go to the next one on the agenda. We're gonna be looking at the unfinished business having to do with the 2025 draft policy of the planning and zoning commission. So we'll come back over to our planner here.
Thank you. I apologize ahead of time. My computer battery is about to die because the charging isn't working.
Fantastic.
So anything I have on the screen will just leave any second now.
Was she plugged in at all?
I'm plugged into the side of this.
Oh,
It's
you
not-
probably.
Plugged in, so the
Oh.
cord could go over to the side and.
Yes. Yes. That guy.
That would do it.
Yes, that'll get you powered up. Wrong power.
Could plug the.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, you gotta plug this one into the side.
Right here.
Did you? Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
The other plug on the curb.
No, yeah, right, this, the cord right there, you go.
I know, technology, right? So much fun. At least there's a good answer to it all. Very good.
That was good. Oh,
There we go.
It might have, we'll see. It got brighter, so then.
That's a good start.
Good sign.
You're amazing. We'll keep you. Keep those secrets to yourself.
So regarding the planning and zoning commission policy, I made the changes that you discussed at the last meeting. The red lines in your packet, I'm happy to discuss any of these changes that you want to talk about.
On page 104. It's still floating hand at the end of the paragraph. Section 8.
Yeah, the little and that's hanging out there.
Oh, okay. I think that can be removed, it looks like.
Voting.
Yeah, I think that one, the and can just be removed and it could be a period after business. Anything else?
Page 106, is that supposed to be an E as part of that unless agreed upon? The top of page 106.
You can change it to unless agreed upon. Oh, there is, yes.
Yes, is that meant to be E?
It is.
It just looked like you were trying to cross it out. I was like.
No, it accidentally goes away with the other things above it, and so when I make it a clean version, it should be fine.
Okay, just making sure, because I was like, we kind of want that to stay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So far, everything on that looks good. Page 107, we were fine with that. Everyone was fine with no later than Friday. For the packet,
Right.
gave them a couple extra days.
Nice to get the public hearing notice earlier.
Yeah, yep.
So the only thing I really didn't address that you were talking about at the last meeting was there was some discussion about your desire to be involved in the selection of a replacement planning commission member.
Yes.
Which I also couldn't really deal with without us dealing with the planning commission ordinance itself.
Okay.
So that's next on your agenda for a review and discussion in anticipation of, that doesn't actually need to be advertised, so for a public hearing, that just goes straight to the city council. But similarly in there, I didn't add it in there because my feeling is that the city council might have their own procedures that they want to follow and it should be their choice.
Yes.
That those procedures could involve a longer process that might take something to the planning commission as well. When you don't meet though in December or prefer not to meet in December, I do think it makes it very difficult for you guys to be involved in the interview process because
Not typically just that month that we're doing interviews. It's kind of any time of the year when it arises.
understood, but part of what you should be doing is everybody should have a term that they're
Oh,
specifically.
that's what you're.
So then there would be theoretically, every year, so many people who are up.
Yes.
Now, if nobody else applies except for sitting members, no interviews are probably needed, right? But if
I mean, I don't have a problem with meeting in December. I know it's usually not done, but
It's
we'd
really
have to
close to
change the,
Christmas.
right, I mean, well, that's what I was gonna say is if we're gonna have a December meeting, it should be moved up in the month and because it's
Yeah.
gonna get Christmas way too often.
Like this year, I think it was on Christmas Eve.
Right,
Like that's just not,
yeah.
come on. Don't make me hate everybody.
I know for 49 years.
Yeah.
We've never had it in December.
Yeah,
Usually there's nothing going on about that time,
right.
And we always wait until, well, maybe the month or so before we say we're not gonna have it.
And next year it's on the 23rd. This year it's on the 23rd.
so.
I mean, at least there's a day between Christmas and.
So So for those reasons though, is why we end up putting that in the draft ordinance, because I do think it is up to council's preference, whatever council is sitting.
I think it'd be the council's decision, because all we do is recommend.
Well, that's the whole point, is we're recommending who we would like to have on the committee with us, based on what knowledge they bring to the table. That's what that's the whole idea behind it, correct? Anybody else have a thought on that?
We've did it both ways.
Yeah,
But
Mayor?
I'm glad you asked. So you guys are recommending council, so there's no reason, even given the current process, you cannot recommend the way it is. Correct?
correct. But in this, the way this reads, it's taking away our request basically, or our option to recommend who would we have added to the committee. It's just going straight to the council.
Are you on page 109 or 108? Page
Oh, where was it? You're gonna make me do that.
Not better than about vacancies.
I'm just working on it. Let me-
Maybe the question for anybody, what page are we on that says specifically about this?
We were
In a
on
month since we talked.
106, but
Vacancies, section 17,
112.
page 112.
there we go.
one's right.
So that's just related to vacancies that occur during the term.
Yes.
There's another part as well, earlier where the council's selecting who's on the planning commission.
Oh, yeah.
But that,
Is that dealing more with terms rather than vacancies?
Correct.
So your vacancies are someone who left before the end of the term.
No,
Okay.
well, yes, vacancies if
Yes.
someone is left before the end of the term. But even when there isn't a vacancy because somebody is filling out their term, everybody should be appointed for a certain term that does expire.
Right.
And not assumed that until they choose to resign themselves with it.
Yes. Where was that? Oh, it's on page 110 at the bottom, officers and members. So that's where it says the 3-year term overlapping and that stuff.
Right.
So,
that's because we had 9 members on our board at that time.
and this is where we were asking who's doing the interview process when it comes to this section, and it doesn't say anything.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if you'd allow me, so one, we would have to have a deadline on when applications are due because they're voted in on the first city council meeting in January. So that would be something we'd have to look at, and then you guys could provide a recommendation. So if you go to what Mr. B said, and said, hey, we moved the meeting 1 week earlier, or something like that, December could be used for the recommendations. If there's applicants, you guys could do an interview. That would be great, and you guys could come out as a committee and recommend by a number of votes. So something like that could be proposed.
And in that situation, we could even make it not a Tuesday if it had to be, correct?
Right. I think.
I would still have a December meeting then, and then anybody who has an application doesn't have to wait an extra month. It's
Right.
really challenging with the 60-day rule.
But we could do it on a Monday evening early in December rather than fourth Tuesday
Right.
Or November.
or November.
Or November.
Yeah.
Because the city has to make up their mind in January, because they make the decision in January.
Okay, so,
So we get there, we can say we're gonna do it in November or have a December meeting for that purpose.
yes. That's fine.
I'm good.
As long as we can change it to not be on the day before or day of Christmas, I'm good.
You don't want to be here
Propose.
Christmas Day?
You would do exactly that. You would propose, here's the date we would like to do.
Yeah.
And propose it to the council. I think do they need to approve it? I don't know that. These guys could set the date for that meeting. So you guys would make that decision as a group. Doesn't need to go to the council. You're setting your date for December. Use it for the application process.
But we would have to do that early enough in the fall, no later than that, so that Natalie and staff would have time to be able to recruit and open up applications to get them in time to get them to you, it is a little uncomfortable if two of you are up and you also reapply and you're interviewing people. But
Right,
If we so, yeah, I mean, if there's enough applicants to do so, it might be. Mhm.
But the question I have is, could you still get it done in time? Because they have to act on the 1st of January.
And that's where I would prefer not to actually embed it in your ordinances or policies, because I don't like the thought of what if we couldn't get it done in time, and then we're sitting without appointed council or appointed planning commission members, because we haven't been able to go through the process here for whatever reason. Maybe there wasn't a quorum, maybe, I don't know what, but
But the city council can appoint anybody anytime. They can take us off at any time. I could be removed tomorrow if they want, if the city council voted on it.
That's an option.
Me too.
No, I'm just being frank, that's the way the ordinances wrote.
Yeah. He's a neighbor, or this. Neighbor.
Sorry. Someone needs to feed me. I'm getting hangry, I guess. I don't know.
Personally, I think it's better if the city council would do the interview. That's my personal opinion. Because they're gonna make the decision, the final decision. All we do is recommend one out of the 3 that we recommend or something, they'd make the final decision. But they still gotta go through the process.
I guess I could go either way.
I
mean, I wouldn't
right.
necessarily mind being a part of if that was needed, but I'm not hung up on doing
Right.
that either.
I can go both ways.
Yeah.
Only because the city council has so many other things to do.
Yeah.
That would be one of our duties here
Yeah,
as
I could do
a
this.
committee.
Doesn't even have to be written.
And we have
It does, it doesn't.
We have a place where
So you open a meeting up your first Monday or Tuesday of December, right? And the council can be there, to put the notification together. Then you take the application through the hiring or not hiring, but interview process in your first month or meeting, and then it goes that first city council meeting. Now they get the recommendations for the second. And now they can make a decision on who to point, right? And now you're already set then for January. Because now they're already through the process and done.
You do a joint meeting.
Well, we've had
Right.
joint meetings before with the city council.
How did Andover do it?
Or just like what you explained, you say? Okay. Because I was thinking if we opened it up in November for applicants, then in December's meeting, we could discuss.
But you're not gonna know when the people. For instance, say Harold, my term is up now, this year, say it was up this year. So.
He would know coming
yeah,
up in December that his term was up.
But in the past, they've always came and asked us, do you wanna serve again?
So now you just have to reapply.
Yeah.
And then if there's more than one applicant for the position that's open, then you have to interview. That's what we're basically setting a precedence for.
You have to ask early enough.
Please take me back. I'll be good this time.
Yeah, I'm to the point I don't care anymore, I mean.
Oh, wait a minute.
It's no matter if he wants to or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
I'll be honest, I don't think I'd ever apply.
But we can still appoint him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, so I think that's, I mean, that
They
seems
could
like,
add value, if I can just interrupt for a second, could add value to possibly bring some additional people in instead of just rehiring the same ones. So that's what this does, is it puts somebody in front and they go up here in the interview and you guys ask them questions. Everybody has to ask the same questions to each application, but you could at least get to know them a little bit, and it brings transparency to the process.
Mhm.
So I'm agreeing with you, because it's good to bring new people in too. In the process, that's never happened because nobody wanted to fill a position.
I'm not gonna lie,
Huh?
getting on this committee was very scary.
Well, it's still scary.
No, it's not that scary. It's just part of what I do as a normal day, so it's just matter of understanding the content of what we're
And,
working.
and I know, I'll have to admit, it takes several years to get into the grain and it's same with the city council. Like if you talk to mayor, he's learned a lot in no time at all.
I've been drinking from the firehouse.
I was waiting to see if you were learning a lot. That's
Fortunately,
funny.
the fire hose is right next door.
Okay, so obviously we don't need to put that inside of this information.
No, we can just institute that and
We just need,
practice this year.
yes, we just need to start practicing.
Whatever we do, we gotta get okay by the council.
Okay.
So other than the two changes, is there anything else anybody saw that you would like to change before I send this to the council for their review and blessing?
Like I was talking to you earlier, it's on page 119, B there, there's the terms of office will expire in February. I still don't understand that.
Yeah, so that's the ordinance part, so that'll be next.
Oh, okay. Well, that, oh, that's in order. Okay.
Yeah,
That's.
Okay, I'm ahead of myself. Okay.
so this is still the policy. and
We're
procedure.
still on
So
policy, okay.
if no other changes,
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to keep all that we have outlined here with the one minor scratch. There's two minor scratches. I know there was a scratch.
remove the floating hand and then make sure that.
Yes, the floating and, sorry, and the whole number 3 there.
Yep.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Okay, Commissioner Pearl made a motion.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Hippo, he seconded. Any further discussion?
We're done.
Seeing there's no discussion, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor. Okay, we got one last thing.
Right.
Next one has to do with the ordinance relating to the planning and zoning.
Correct, so the last one is an ordinance related to the Planning and Zoning Commission, so I think I alluded to last time that your PZ ordinance in the code is really short and is missing quite a few things of what your requirements and duties are of a planning commission. So proposing to add all of that in here along with other information related to the vacancies, are filled by the council, that you get compensated at the fixed rate that the council sets, things like that are in here. Chair Ames was questioning me before the meeting about why did I put in here under section 2-1-2B for terms, that terms of office shall expire February 1st of their last year of appointment. And I did that intentionally. I know normally you think of it in terms of calendar years, but council appoints at their first meeting. So there's technically a gap of time there where you could end up with some vacant seats at that point in time. And on some rare occasions, it might be necessary to have a special meeting.
Yes.
So that was why I did that, and then people would just wait an extra month, but we can change that if you want. I was trying to avoid that gap of time where there could be 2 or 3 vacant seats.
So it's gonna be.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
that's the question to Ms. Nash there. So if you look at that, you would have more council members in January's meeting then, if that was the case.
No, they wouldn't start till February 1.
Okay, got it.
I still don't understand the gap, why there'd be a gap. Because in the January meeting, the council would be appointing the person that would be filling in.
There's rare occasions where your December meeting doesn't work because of the date that it is, for example. And you're trying to find a different day and you end up moving it to the first week of January.
What are you saying?
Makes sense.
It begins at the council,
We could probably change it to,
first council meeting of the year.
yeah, we could probably change it to that.
No, I think that'd be better.
Otherwise you'd have officer election in January and then you have to do again in February.
That's right, they could.
Yeah, I'll change that to, that the terms of office shall expire upon the date of the first council meeting of the year.
In January.
Yeah, I think that's.
That works.
That's better.
And then in that same section 2-1-2, but paragraph A. Your existing ordinance does have some language about appointing alternate members, and I, of course, know you don't have any right now. Made me wonder how long has it been since you've had alternate members, and is that needed?
We've never had it,
Never had it.
never had it.
Do you want to recommend keeping this in the event it might be needed at some point? I have needed it in other communities. So I understand why it's here.
I believe we have enough members that it's okay, because we need a half plus one.
Need for.
Yeah. So I think we'll be okay.
You've never been less than 4.
No. It was
If the council can
super
I
rare.
think one time it did, we did have, that was less than 9, and that's when we had 9 members. I know Fred Brody was our chairman. And he was sick, but we called him in so we'd have a forum. Was that before you got on your hero? I can't remember.
There would have been 5 people that did that.
Well, if you've never used the alternates then and haven't had trouble with absences or anything like
With
that.
Zoom nowadays, really? Could we? You did it from the distance.
That did not work well.
Not the greatest, I agree, but it was doable.
Well, the city council still has a problem with Mary from a distance that still got the echo.
We're working.
So I'll delete this in the version that goes to that part in the version that goes to the city council. And
Which item was that?
that was the alternates in 2-1-2. The second paragraph.
108.
I don't know the packet page number, sorry. 119.
It doesn't hurt to have it in there, I suppose.
It seems like a no harm. Because they may,
They may.
they may not.
Yeah, it says they may, so it's not requiring anything.
Which number is that? Page
Page 119.
119, okay.
So maybe keep it then? What's the will?
I don't.
What's the-
think about keeping it.
But
Yeah, because it requires a lower quorum if you have alternates, I suppose.
Who's the alternates?
that's a good
Nobody
point.
knows.
Yeah.
That's a mystery question.
I guess I was thinking that if the
Yeah, but
council can
appointed-
appoint.
Maybe if they get extra applicants and there's gonna
Commissioner at any time,
can appoint alternates.
why would we need an alternate? But if an alternate doesn't affect quorum.
Maybe if they get 4 applicants for 3 openings, they could appoint an alternate if they think they're all good.
So what happens in the communities that use alternates and the way this language reads too is that the alternates would still be attending the meeting, but not necessarily participating. And then if Commissioner Carroll was going today's meeting,
Once.
alternate number 1 would step in her place.
And we've never had any appointments for that, so it's weird that we have any verbiage for it.
It'd be difficult to get somebody to do it part-time. It's hard enough right now to get them to do it full-time.
Unless you call, people know they're gonna be gone and then they could call the alternate and say you're needed tonight.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
So just maybe a possible look at it this way. You have 7 people on. You can pretty easily get a quorum even if 2 people are out.
Right.
Yes.
I don't know that alternates are gonna be needed.
But I think we can leave the verbiage in there. It doesn't. So, if it ever became an issue, you have the ability to do that, but we wouldn't need to.
So if there's no other changes, we'll plan to put this on the city council's agenda. And I'll probably have to work with Natalie as well, because I think I'll put Natalie on the spot, but I recall, Natalie, we weren't actually sure what everybody's terms were. That's current members, we might want to reorganize the terms, unless you found that.
Yeah, we do have a list.
Okay, perfect.
Go back on years, probably could figure it out.
The question is, how are we gonna do it? Because it was originally set up for 3 each year for 3 years.
332.
3, what? 3, 2, 2?
322, sorry.
And I think when the three of us came on, it was a 1, 2, and 3 year term that was,
That were open.
yeah, but it was
Yeah.
never followed up on after that.
Was it 3 appointed this year?
I was asked or whatever it was just after the first year. I think I like finished out a partial or something and
Okay.
My term would be up, I believe now.
Thank you. I can email
Mine's
everybody.
up.
That would
What
be
we-
helpful.
Yeah.
Next.
At the next-
Mine is renews. Yes, Jamie just me.
You guys didn't know that you signed up for a lifetime on this?
Oh, I knew I didn't. No, me.
So I have, 2 potential changes, both in that same section, and we'll take a motion from you for recommendation of the consent.
So we like to make a motion, we send it to city council in.
I move that we approve that with the 2 changes. That goes to council.
I'll second.
Commissioner Blaze made
I can second.
Commissioner Carlson seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And I think there's one other thing on the agenda. No business.
That
That was it.
That was it.
That was it.
Harold.
Yes.
Okay, I'm adjourned. We're adjourned. Okay, Harold.